has a story to claim. Sit back, listen to conversation between Terry Lynn and new authors on the rise, and let the journey begin.
Hello, friends. Welcome to my podcast, Conversations Between Terry Lynn and New Authors. On this episode, I'm talking with Julie Canfieldy, who wrote a novel titled Hiding Behind Robes. It's a part fiction, part truth examination of the church's dark history in Ireland and in America. Welcome, Julie.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
What inspired you to write Hiding Behind Robes?
Well, a few years ago, I had heard about the Magdalene laundries, and I thought about how if my ancestors had still been in Ireland, I may have been subject to the Magdalene laundries. So I was very thankful that they had come to America and were here. I checked into it because I'm a history buff and I have a lot of Celtic blood in me. So I researched the history and got fascinated by it and thought this would be a great lead-in to a story. So I created that book using a detective I had created before.
I haven't read their testimonies yet, but I've heard they are both moving and heartbreaking.
They are. They really are. Some of the women showed what it takes to be true survivors. And when they left, they were able to put their lives together and create a very good life for themselves. Other ones had trouble because they searched for their children. Some of them could find them, some of them could not. And the unanswered questions they had haunted them their entire lives.
Why did you choose Lieutenant Detective Philip Salmon as your main character?
Well, I had written a book with him before and thought he needed a sequel. So he became, once again, him and his cohorts came into the book.
I didn't know Hiding Behind Robes was a second book. I couldn't find the first book on Amazon.
I think it has been taken down. It was called What Hides Beneath, and it took place in a museum. So, he solved the mystery there, which was someone had been hiding, who worked in the museum, had been taking objects of value, hiding them in the museum, only to take them later and sell them.
What makes Philip Salmon different from other fictional detectives?
He's not arrogant in the least. He knows he has flaws. He knows he's not perfect. But he wants to do the best job he can. And he's haunted by some of his past demons to make sure that he does justice.
He sounds like a nice guy.
Sometimes he's nice, sometimes not so nice, like all of us.
How would you describe Lieutenant Detective Philip to someone who hasn't met him yet?
I would say that he is part Detective Columbo, in that he's kind of a sloppy dresser and just asks questions that sometimes don't seem relevant. But he's also like Mike Hammer. He's very sarcastic and tough, and he does that to hide his gentle giant inside. So he doesn't want to be the bad cop all the time.
Cool. What role does faith play in the story?
Well, you don't have to have faith to read the story and be caught up in it. It does take place mainly at a church, and it does involve nuns, which are a funny lot unto themselves. But it's what plays out inside the Roman Catholic Church, or in this case, the Irish Catholic. If you dive into church history, and I'm a historian, by amateur historian, I should say, you see that there are many layers that have been built upon the church. And this just looks at one of the layers inside the churches and how what happens there can have a ripple effect throughout all of society.
I appreciate that the story is accessible to all readers, regardless of their faith. while still exploring meaningful themes like the lasting impact of our choices.
Thank you for that. I try to put in all of my books a theme that is resonant to anybody reading it. Things like forgiveness, consequences of actions, sacrificial love, and discuss what we're willing to give up for something that we think we want.
How important is redemption in this novel?
Well, I think that's going to depend upon the reader. I mean, it does discuss having to forgive. Without giving too much away, the Mother Superior has to forgive the bishop, and Salmon has to learn to forgive some of the church's actions because he was raised as a Catholic in Chicago. He no longer is a practicing Catholic, but this assignment made him have to dredge up some demons from his past, one of which was sister committing suicide because she was pregnant and unmarried.
What kind of research did you do for the police investigation aspects of the novel?
I have been privileged to have many friends who are cops, and so it's always nice to be able to pick their brains. I have beat cop friends, I have detective friends, I have investigator friends, but I also went to so many workshops and lectures that were given by police on procedures so that I could learn these procedures and then know exactly how to write them and make them as accurate as possible. And I highly recommend anybody who has the opportunity to do that to go to one.
That is a great way to do it. To talk to friends who have experiences what you need to know.
Yeah, they were very helpful. They told me what they're supposed to do legally and where sometimes it crosses the line.
What makes a compelling mystery in your opinion?
Well, the story has to be believable. It can't be so far-fetched that the reader will not give up their regard to disbelief. So it needs to be believable. You actually have to be able to visualize it happening. And then you want to have as few, you want some red herrings. Your red herrings have to also be believable, but you don't want so many of them that the reader gets confused. So it's a fine balance there. But one of the things, a woman who I sat in her workshop, she is a well-known children's author. She explained that to make a story believable, you must be able to do it. So if you are having your character crawl across the floor, actually crawl across your floor and see what they're seeing at that eye level. It makes it better because then you're not going so far-fetched that the reader goes, oh, that couldn't have happened. So
I concur. What do you hope readers feel when they turn the final page?
well, that they like the book, of course. I want that. And I want them to say, wow, we'd like to read more of her work, of course. But I also want them to reflect sometimes on their behaviors, how something that they did in the past could come back in the future to haunt them so that we start thinking more before we act, something our society is very bad at lately.
I like that takeaway very much. Sometimes the best compliment an author can receive is simply hearing, "That was a great read. I can't wait to read your next book."
Oh, definitely. We love hearing that very much.
What has surprised you most about readers' reactions?
I think the biggest surprise was I was a guest at a book club and they had all read the book and I had told them, I said, discuss it like I'm not even here. And boy, did they. I learned how most of them felt like it should be a movie and they had the characters picked out who was to play what part. And I sat there going, yeah, that would be great. Yeah, okay, I can see that. I mean, the ones that told me they could actually see the scene in their head, that was the biggest flattery to me because I may be able to see it when I'm writing it, but that doesn't mean the reader is going to see the same things I see. So to have readers tell me, I could see it, I could picture it happening, that to me says, okay, the hard work paid off. I did my job.
That's a wonderful reaction. What advice would you give writers who want to blend history with fiction?
Thoroughly research that history. You have to know it better than you know yourself, better than you really know your storyline before you begin, because you want to make sure that you can extract something out of it that you've turned into a story that you want to tell. For example, I'm working on a woman's fiction set in Wilmington, North Carolina, right before World War II, because Wilmington had a shipyard that built Liberty boats to be used. And the actual first Liberty boat was launched on December 6, 1941. So we weren't at war yet, but we were building the boats. And it talks about four women who I have them as sisters, but in reality, they were a mother and three of her daughters. And what happens to them during the war, what's going to happen at the launch, which played a very big role in one woman's life. And it talks about what they go through with their boyfriends and their husbands, who are off fighting the war all of a sudden, and what they're dealing with every day, and what happens when these men come back and they're not the same. So even doing something like that, I had to research even weather to get the details right. So that's why I said research thoroughly in order to do fiction and history blend.
Yeah, knowing the history well helps an author blend fact and fiction in a believable way. What's next for you, and what projects are you most excited to share with your readers?
Well, like I said, I am working on that book. I put it on hold for a few minutes, for maybe a month or two. I am putting together what's called the Saltwater Gospel Life. It will be a newsletter on Substack and on Medium. And it is not about writing, but it is a way to offer encouragement and uplift people. I think we all sometimes need somebody to pull out their pom-poms and cheer for us, and that's what this will do. So you can find that there. Eventually, I'm hoping to pull that all together to make it a book. But it will be just some photos I've taken, one that I have created. And like I said, upliftment and encouragement to everybody, because I know from my own past, I never got enough encouragement. I was in an abusive home as a child, and then an abusive home in a marriage until I walked out of that and said, enough's enough. So having been through that and survived it, I'm willing to now put together pieces that can hopefully just encourage somebody to keep dreaming, keep chasing a dream, to never give up. So people can look for that there. And then I will hopefully be talking to an agent soon about two books that I have completed. Both are women's fiction. And there is a new detective mystery that is bubbling up in the back of my head, bringing back Philip again, and he will be dealing with another historical event that happened off the coast of North Carolina when a German sub sank out there, and some of the survivors from the sub made it on shore, and what happened with them. So many people don't know that we have actually Germans buried at Hatteras Island that were on the sub. So it's a fascinating part of history.
I'll read the Detective Salmon story, which will again blend history and fiction and will be set in either Wilmington or the Outer Banks. For sure, since I live between Wilmington and the Outer Banks.
Really? Where do you live?
I live in Newport, North Carolina.
Okay. I am from Wilmington. I grew up there. So I know where you are. Right now, I live in Richmond. Virginia. But as soon as I can find a place to live in North Carolina, I'll be there. I'm looking on the coast because I miss my beaches, and so does my dog.
Yeah, North Carolina beaches are very pretty. Where can people find you online and follow your journey?
Well, there is my website, which is jlcanfield.com. I do not keep it updated, unfortunately, but you can find me on Facebook. Just look for either Julie Canfield or JL Canfield. LinkedIn, JL Canfield. Twitter, JL Canfield. Just put my name in, you'll find me. I'm all over.
Thank you, Julie, for your information. I will put it in this episode's notes below.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You are welcome. Is there anything else you want people to know about you?
That I really appreciate all the people who read my work and leave reviews. Reviews help writers not only sell books, but become better writers. And that's why they're so important. So please leave reviews. And hey, if you have story ideas, always share them.
Thank you for sharing that. It's wonderful to see how much you appreciate your readers and their support. I wish you all the best with your new Substack newsletter and future books.
Well, thank you. I'm excited about doing the newsletter. I've never done one before. I've never been on Substack before, so this is an all new experience. But I'm looking forward to it.
You are welcome, Julie. Okay, my listeners, tune in next week when I talk with another wonderful author. Until then, happy reading.